Shaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Neelam Bhujashya Malako Malangam Sita Samarupita Vamabhagam Parno Mahasayaka Charuchapam Namami Ramam Raghuvam Shanatham Atulita Baladhamam Hema Shailabhadeham Danujavana Krishanum Jnani Namagraganyam Sakala Guna Nidhanam Vanarana Madhisham Raghupati Priya Bhaktam Vatajatam Namami. Bhagavan, having left Chitrakuta, is traveling through the forest, and on his way he has met Atri Muni, and after leaving Atri Muni's ashram, he now has met with, he then meets with this Asura Viradha, to whom he gives mukti, and he then meets with Sharabhanga Muni, who is also granted the boon of devotion. And finally, now we are seeing that Bhagavan is meeting with one very special devotee, whose name is Sutīkṣṇa. And this Sutīkṣṇa is a disciple of Agastya Rishi. And so we saw the story last week of how it was said that Sutīkṣṇa had asked what to bring in Guru Dakshina, and the instruction that Agastya Muni had given him. And now Sutīkṣṇa, having gone to the forest and staying there, he one day hears that Bhagavan is coming. Bhagavan, whom he has been worshipping and having devotion for all this time, that Bhagavan is coming. And he immediately, he stands up from where he is and he starts running around. And in his mind, he is thinking, how will Bhagavan receive me? I have nothing to recommend me to him. I have not done any sadhana. I have no satsang. I have not done any yoga, japa, jaga. I don't have this firm devotion, etc. But then he thinks, actually, the only thing which is important to Bhagavan is that the devotee is fully surrendered to him. Supriya jake gati na ane. If someone is completely surrendered to Bhagavan and not thinking of anything or anyone else as their refuge, then Bhagavan will be very pleased with that person. And he feels that he is most blessed because finally he is able to see Bhagavan with his own eyes. And Bhagavan, Lord Shiva, says to Parvati ji that really his devotion and particularly his state at that time really is indescribable. So we had seen up to that 5th chaupai after doha number 9. So we will see it from after that now, so from the 6th chaupai. And we had read this also last time, so we'll just continue from there. So now what does he say? This Sutīkṣṇa ji, how is he feeling at that time? He says, Disi aru disi pantha nahi sujha. This Sutīkṣṇa is so overwhelmed, he doesn't know which direction is which way is north, which way is south. And he doesn't know any of the other directions or paths or anything. Ko me chaleu kaha nahi bujha. he doesn't even know, who am I? He's forgotten himself completely in this anticipation of meeting Bhagavan. And where am I going? That also he's forgotten. He's just running here and there. Kabahuka piri pache puni ai. So he goes in some direction, and then after some time he turns around and he comes back in the other direction. And he keeps doing this, just going back and forth. And in between, as he's walking or running, sometimes he just starts dancing. He's so excited. Sometimes he starts singing. Gunagai, he starts singing about Bhagavan's glories and his praises. So now you can just imagine how Sutīkṣṇa is behaving in this forest, right? And he's just so excited to see Bhagavan. And Bhagavan has actually reached where he is. Atisaya priti dekhi Raghuvira. Bhagavan sees this overwhelming love of Sutīkṣṇa. But Bhagavan doesn't come in front and see him. Prabhu dekhe taru otalukai. Bhagavan is standing behind some tree trunk and he's watching Sutīkṣṇa just sing and dance and run this way and that. You know, like it's said how very small children, sometimes if their mother has to go to another room, so she just leaves them playing with some toys, etc. And that child will be playing so happily, right? It will be talking something to himself or herself. She'll just be playing, singing. And that sometimes it's such a joy to just watch. Because if you come in the room and they see you, then they'll stop what they're doing and then they'll want to, engage with whoever that person is. So you have to hide and then you can watch them play just completely with no kind of, no hesitancy, no pretense. They're just so comfortable in themselves. So Bhagavan is watching Sutīkṣṇa ji very fondly like this. And Bhagavan sees that this Sutīkṣṇa is so full of love and so full of devotion. And so what he does is, pragate hridaya harana bhava bhira. He manifests himself in Sutīkṣṇa ji's heart, in his mind. This Bhagavan who is harana bhava bhira, the one who removes all the fear of samsara. He reveals himself in Sutīkṣṇa's heart. And now you can just imagine he was so sort of so full of enthusiasm and joy. He was dancing, he was singing, he was running around. And now he gets this vision of Bhagavan in his mind. And immediately as that happens, Muni Maga Maj Achala Hoibe Sa. His mind gets so absorbed in this, and he becomes completely still. Achala. He stops all movement. Dekhi dasa nija jana mana. Before that, sorry. Pulaka sarira panasa phala jaisa. Tulasasi gives a nice example. He stands still, but all the hair on his body is like standing on end, because he's just so thrilled with this vision of Bhagavan. And how does he look? Like a panasa phala. Panas means the jackfruit. So that jackfruit it's spiky, right, on the outside. So it has like small protrusions, whatever they're called. So this is how Sutīkṣṇa is. He's standing completely still. All hair is standing on end, like he's got goosebumps. But in his mind, he is seeing Bhagavan. Taba Raghunatha nikatak chali aaye. then Bhagavan, what he does is he comes out from behind that tree and he comes closer to Sutīkṣṇa. Dekhi dasa nija jana mana bhaye, and he sees now his own devotee's state of mind, and he's very happy that he's so full of love, but also that he's just become so absorbed in this vision. Now, when somebody goes into this state, as Sutīkṣṇa is done, he just loses all awareness of his body. So maybe eyes are closed. He's seeing Bhagavan in his own mind. And he's so absorbed in that he forgets his own body. So now, even though Bhagavan is coming near him, physically in front of him, he remains completely unaware. He doesn't even realize that Bhagavan is there. So now what Bhagavan does, Tava Munihi Rama Bahu Bhati Jagava. Bhagavan starts trying to wake him up in lots of different ways. So first you have to call the name of that person. So this is actually described, right? If somebody goes into this kind of samadhi, how do you take them out? And particularly, if you read stories about Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, when he would go into samadhi and how he would come out very slowly, very gradually, they would have to sometimes bring him back. And other saints, etc. also. So first he calls him, he's not responding. Then you're supposed to sort of touch the body of that person, because that brings them back to their awareness of their body. So Bhagavan tries everything. Like how when some people are sleeping, they'll hear the slightest creak in the opposite corner of the house, and immediately they'll wake up. Some people are like that. Some people, if somebody is like shouting in their own room next to their bed, they will not hear anything. They're so deeply asleep. This samadhi, of course, is very different from sleep, but that awareness is just not coming back. So Bhagavan tries to wake him up. Jagana dhyana janita sukha bhava. He doesn't wake up because he has experienced, he has attained this happiness, which is dhyana janita, which is arising from his dhyan, means his complete absorption of mind in Bhagavan. The highest one of the highest experiences that can be had. And if you're experiencing such pure bliss just in your mind, why would you want to come out of it, right? He just wants to revel in that. So he's not able to wake him up. Now, Bhagavan realizes that, okay, I have to try some different tactic. So what he does, Bhupa Rupa Taba Rama Durapa. Now what he does, when he had revealed himself in Sutīkṣṇaji's mind, Sutīkṣṇa's most beloved form of Ram was as this prince of Ayodhya, or king. So that's the form that Bhagavan had revealed. Now what Bhagavan does is he withdraws that form and Hridaya Chatur Bhuja Rupa Dekhava. Now he manifests in Sutīkṣṇa's mind his form with 4 arms, means like as Vishnu. Sutīkṣṇa loved particularly this form of Ram. So now he shows him this Vishnu form. Muni akulai utha taba kaise. So now Sutīkṣṇa, suddenly this form is withdrawn from his mind. So he jumps up and bikala hina mani phani bara jaise, as though he's like that serpent which has lost its gem. Means he's completely distraught that I had this beautiful thing, now it's gone. What do I do? So he's jumping up and he looks, but as he looks up, now in front of him, he sees Bhagavan. Aage dekhi Rama tanasyama, this Ram with this beautiful dark form standing in front of him. Sita Anuja Sahita Sukha Dhama, together with Lakshman and Sita ji. Bhagavan, who is the abode of all happiness, he sees him now with his physical eyes, not just in his mind. And what Sutīkṣṇa ji does, Pariyulakuta iva charanani laki, like a stick, he falls at Bhagavan's feet. Things like just flat. He just falls at Bhagavan's feet. Prema magana munibara bada bhagi. And he's just sort of completely absorbed in this love. And Tulasidas says he is bada bhagi. He is extremely blessed and fortunate. He sees Bhagavan in this way. And also he is blessed because of now what Bhagavan does. Bhuja bisala gahi liye utai. Now Bhagavan himself with his long arms, he picks up Sutīkṣṇa. Parama priti rakhi uralai. And now with this supreme love, Bhagavan embraces Sutīkṣṇa. Brings him to his heart and he embraces him. Now Sutīkṣṇa is just lost in this experience. Munihi milata asak soha kripala kanaka taruhi janu bheta tamala. Now how do they look in this embrace? He says, Bhagavan is like this tamala tree. So this tamala tree is like one very dark bark. And Sutīkṣṇa looks like kanakataru, like a tree of gold. And as though both have come together and are embracing. And Sutīkṣṇa is shining like gold. And Bhagavan is very dark in complexion. Now, somehow Sutīkṣṇa sort of is withdrawing from this embrace, or he is able to sort of look at Bhagavan. Rama badanu biloka muni thadha. Now he sees Bhagavan's face and he just can't look away. As though he's not even blinking. He's just staring at Bhagavan. Manahu chitra macha liki kadha. As though he is like a picture who is drawn. Completely motionless, just staring at Bhagavan. Now we don't know for how long. How long did he stare just looking at Bhagavan? How long Bhagavan allowed him to just stand there? But after some time, Taba Muni, then this Muni, Hridaya Dhira Dhari, he sort of collects himself a little bit. And Gahi Pada Bara Hi Bar. Again and again he bows down to Bhagavan. And Nija Ashrama Prabhu Anikari. He brings Bhagavan to his own ashram. And Nija Kari Puja Vividha Prakar. And then he worships Bhagavan in so many ways. So he offers very loving, reverential puja. And then he offers one stuti. So this is very beautiful. Again, you'll see a lot of stutis here. This stuti offered by Sutīkṣṇa to Bhagavan. Now Sutīkṣṇa, having welcomed Bhagavan to his own ashram, he now says to Bhagavan, Kaha Muni, Prabhu Suna Binati Mori. Bhagavan, please now listen to this prayer of mine. And what is that prayer? Astuti Karau Kavana Vidhi Tori. Now he says, how can I praise you? Why? So we might say, why can't we praise Bhagavan? That should actually be the easiest thing, right? To praise Bhagavan. he says, Mahima Amita, your glory is uncontained. There is nothing to limit your glory. Mori mati thori, and my intelligence is very little. Ravi sanmukha khadyota anjori, like a firefly in front of the sun. That is how we are. Means you are like this sun with endless light and brilliance and warmth. And I'm like this tiny glowworm, which actually you can only even see in the dark. During the day, the sun's brilliance is so much. That glowworm is not producing any light. And during the dark, you will see some small glow coming from that. That's how we are, Bhagavan. Means, really speaking, there is no comparison. Right? Nobody in their right mind would think to compare these two. And therefore, how can I praise you? How can a glowworm praise the sun? Now what Sutīkṣṇa, even though he said this, is really speaking, it's just this expression of humility in front of Bhagavan and love. And so in his stuti, various things are said. So he will sort of describe Bhagavan's form, and then he offers his prostrations, and then he expresses some wish that he has in his heart. So first he says, Bhagavan, Shyama Tama Rasa Dama Shariram, your body, which is so dark, like so many dark lotuses. So Dama Rasa means the very dark color. Or Shyam also means dark. And how is your hair? Jata Mukuta. You have this jata, means all the matted locks that you have put on your head with that tree sap. Paridhana Munichiram. And you are dressed in these Munichiram, means the clothes of some hermit, some ascetic. This is how you are clothed. Pani chapa shara kati tuniram. In your hand you have the bow and arrow, and round your waist you have this, what do they call that? Where the arrows are held, like a quiver. So this is also fastened on you. And he says, No minirantara Śrī Rāma. And now I bow down to you again and again and again. Or Raghuvira. Now he says, Moha Vipina Ghana Dahana Krishanu. Bhagavan, you are like the sun. So Krishanu means sun here. And what do you do as the sun? Oh, sorry, not sun, fire. What do you do as fire? You burn this forest of thick delusion. So right now we are in Aranyakanda, right? And before we had discussed what is the meaning of aranya, the forest. But here what Sutīkṣṇa says is, for most of us ordinary people, we are not in this forest. We are wandering in a forest of delusion. Means there is so much ignorance in our mind, primarily about what is our real nature. But there is so much ignorance about so many things. And as a result of that ignorance, we make so many mistakes in our own life. He says, Bhagavan, you are like the fire which is going to completely burn this thick forest of delusion. In other words, you are the one who takes away our ignorance, our delusion. Santa Saroraha Kanana Bhanu. You are the sun for the forest full of lotuses, which are the saints. So in the forest, you won't find many ordinary people who are just living their life there. Okay? Some, you will find some. But mostly the people living in the forest are those who have dedicated their life to some sadhana, to some higher pursuit. So he says, Bhagavan, in this forest of sages who are like lotuses, you are the sun. In other words, whenever we do any sadhana, any practice with sincerity and dedication, then Bhagavan is the one who sees that the result of that sadhana, it appears for us. He is the sun to help all these lotuses bloom. Nishichara Kari Varutha Mriga Rajaha. Just now we had seen that Bhagavan saw when he was meeting all these munis, one big pile of bones, right? And they explained to him that, Bhagavan, you know that this is because of all these asuras here. So Sutīkṣṇa ji says, all these asuras, nishicharas, they are like elephants. And you are like the lion who is going to defeat all those elephants. You are the one who has the power and the strength to be able to get rid of them from this forest. And then he says, Tratu sadano bhava khaga vajaha. Oh Bhagavan, may you protect us always. You who are the khaga means bird, right? Means like the eagle who is going to destroy this snake in the form of samsara. Birds and snakes are not friends generally, right? There is a natural enmity between them. So this bhava, which is like a snake, you are like the bird which can defeat this bhava, this samsara, and remove all our suffering. That is you, and may you protect us in this way. How? As the fire to burn the forest of delusion, as the sun to open up all these lotuses, as the lion to defeat all the elephants of these demons, and as the bird to defeat the snake of samsara. So many examples he's given, right? So many ways in which we can see that Bhagavan is protecting us. This is his prayer. And he says, Aruna Nayana Rajiva Suvesham. Bhagavan, you have these reddish eyes. Rajiva, which are like lotuses. Suvesham, you're very beautiful. Sita Nayana Chakora Nishesham. And Sita ji's eyes are like the Chakora bird. They're always watching you, in other words. You are like the moon for Sita ji's Chakora eyes. She's always looking at you. Hara Hridi Manasa Balamaralam. You are the swan in the lake, which is the heart of Lord Shiva. So earlier also this was said, right? That this is Lord Shiva is constantly dwelling on Bhagavan. Nomi Rama Ura Bahu Vishala. I bow down to Rama, who has who has a very large heart, and also who has very large, long arms. Both Vishala. Bhagavan's heart is big enough to fit everybody. We don't have to worry. Bhagavan, how can you think of all jivas at the same time? There are so many of us, right? 7-8 billion humans, plus everybody else. how can Bhagavan love and think of everyone at the same time? Bhagavan's heart is Vishal. He can think of everyone and he can love everyone at the same time. So I bow down to you. Okay. So we'll read after 4. Samshaya sarpagrasana uragada shamana sukarkasha tarka vishada bhava bhanjanaram jana surayutha tratu sadano kripavarutha nirguna saguna vishamasa Marupam Jnana-Niragotitam-Anupam Amalam-Akhilam-Anavadyam-Aparam Naomi Rama-Bhanjana-Mahibharam Bhakta-Kalpa-Padapa-Aramaha Tarjana Krodha-Lobha-Madhakamaha Atinagara Bhava-Sagarasya Tratu Sada-Dinakara Kulaketu Atulita Bhuja-Pratapa-Baladhamaha Kalimala-Vipula-Vibhantananamaha Dharma-Varmana-Madhya-Gunagramaha Santata-Shamtano Mama Ramaha. Now he says, Bhagavan, we have all these doubts, okay? Samshaya. And doubt is something which really can be so destructive in life. This is why Bhagavan says in the Gita that Shraddhavan labhate jnanam, that the one who has Shraddha will gain knowledge. And the opposite or the counter of Shraddha is when there is doubt in the mind. Okay? So he says, Bhagavan, here you are like the eagle to swallow all the doubts that we have, which are like serpents. You are like Garuda. In other words, you alone can remove all our doubts. Now, this doesn't mean if we have doubts in our mind that Bhagavan should appear in front of us and just magically remove, somehow it just sucks them out of our mind, right? When we have Shraddha in Bhagavan, then our doubt will go. So we have to make that decision that I'm going to cultivate Shraddha. I'm going to have that Shraddha so that these doubts don't remain in my mind. When we invoke him, then they will disappear. Also, Shamana Sukarkasha Tarka Vishadaha. As well as doubts, what happens is when we are led astray by some false thinking, then also we suffer, right? We suffer because of doubt, but sometimes we have conviction, but we have the wrong conviction because our thinking is wrong. So then also we suffer. He says, you are the one to quieten all that suffering that is brought about by wrong thinking. In other words, Bhagavan will ensure, or Bhagavan is able to ensure that we are thinking in the right way if we surrender and dedicate ourselves to him. If we think, no, what do I need Bhagavan? I will do everything myself. Then naturally there will be wrong thinking. Bhava bhanjana ranjana surayutha. You are the one to destroy samsara. You are the one who delights all the devatas, sura. Tratu sada no kripa varuthaha. May that embodiment of compassion that you are, may you protect us. Nirguna saguna vishama samarupam. Now he says, your form is nirguna, but also saguna. It's without attributes and also with attributes. It is vishama. Vishama here means there are differences, but also sama, you are the same. In other words, all contradictions are contained within Bhagavan. There is no contradiction in Bhagavan. But Bhagavan can be seen in all these different ways. Jnanagira goti tamanupam. He says, you are incomparable. You are anupam. You are beyond all, jnana means you are beyond all thinking, you are beyond all speech, you are beyond the senses, gotita. So here, he is seeing Bhagavan as the supreme truth, right? In some places, he is describing Bhagavan as an avatar with this form. In some places, he describes Bhagavan as supreme truth. In some places, he is describing Bhagavan as Ishvara. This we had discussed earlier, how all these different ways of seeing Bhagavan are included a lot of the times in all these stutis. Amalam, you are pure. Akhilam, you are whole, means there is no difference in you. Anavadyam aparam, you are beyond all, there are no faults in you, there are no dosha in you. Aparam, you are limitless. No me Rama bhanjana mahi bharam. I bow down to Rama, who destroys the burden of this earth. Bhakta kalpa padapa aramaha. You are like that wish-fulfilling tree for your bhaktas, who you give them peace. Tarjana krodha lobha mada kamaha. You destroy all these negativities. Anger, greed, pride, desire. Tarjana means you destroy them, you take them away. Atinagara bhava sagara setuhu. You are full of all great virtues, and you are the bridge to cross over this sea of samsara. Ratu sada dinakara kula ketuhu. May you protect us, you who are the brightest among these Raghuvamsha. Just one more we'll see. Atulita bhuja pratapa baladhamaha. You are the abode of all strength and glory. Kalimala vipula vibhanjana namaha. And your name itself is so great that it destroys all the negativities of this Kali Yuga. This is said, right? That actually all you need is Bhagavan's name in this Kali Yuga. You don't need anything else. Dharma varma narmada gunat gramaha. You are the you are the abode of all gunas. You are yourself a dharma. You are, varma means you are kshatriya in this form. Narmada, you give peace to everyone. Santata sham tanotu mama Rama. Now he says, Mama Rama, my Rama. May he bless us all with auspiciousness, with peace. May that be what we receive from Bhagavan. We are going quite quickly, but you can read this and just think of what all of these things mean and how we see Bhagavan in this way in our own life. That's what's important, that we come to this conclusion that this is Mama Rama. Because it's very nice to say, okay, Sutīkṣṇa ji is praising Bhagavan. How nice. We'll just read it and then we'll go. But this should be how we see Bhagavan, right? This should be our relationship with him. So we'll see the rest next time. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.